Let's briefly start, because I think there's still a lot of merit in discussing what happened on Thursday, first and foremost.
Okay.
Because certainly the race delivered, and this was the most hyped event of, sorry, we're just seeing pictures of Max Checo.
Cool down car.
Show in, yeah, it's got all like little stars.
It's a Rolls Royce.
Ceiling.
It's literally a Rolls Royce.
Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked.
Yes.
and it's certainly, I would call it a false start. It was a false start to this weekend, and we see, more often than we'd like, we're talking about how this sport is stewarded or how it's managed by the F1 or whatever. And there were things that could have been done differently. But where do we sit on what happened Thursday?
I have done so much research into drain covers, municipal
concrete,
firefighting, concrete, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Hey, look,
you're an expert now.
It's really simple. Obviously, F1 can't come out and go, we did a bad, because they are now there's a legal suit being filed on behalf of the fans who got kicked out just before FP2 started. So I think that's the thing that upset me the absolute most, was stringing the fans along until 1:30 in the morning, kicking them out, and probably the last ones that were getting kicked out could hear the action that they'd been waiting all day for. Now, that was unacceptable. The reasons for it were they didn't have a contingency plan for staff working late, but they put one in for Saturday to make sure it didn't happen again. So they should have done that on Friday. So that's error number 2. Error number 1 is somebody, as far as I can tell, someone made a decision to replace all of the drain covers that were there, which I think are normally cast iron, with aluminium covers of their own. So the race event brought them. They had little brass locks, and someone made the decision that would stand up to cars with ground effect running over them. And they instantly didn't.
So you didn't test it.
And mistakes happen. Someone's made that mistake. Normally, those sorts of things need to be welded down. But they've looked at that and gone, no, this one will do. But that device in no way will have been race tested. But what really annoyed me was they came out with 2 conflicting statements to start with. A, it wasn't the drain cover at all. It was the concrete insert that failed. No, there was no concrete insert. And then the second one was, well, we did seal it down with sealant, but then there was pictures of these drain covers being very quickly taken up as they decided to fill it in with concrete. So yes, great weekend, but massive, massive false start. Those fans deserve much, much more than a £200 gift certificate for a t-shirt.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So yeah, I was enraged.
I think you're missing the key point, which is that my boss was late into work on Friday morning. So I was planning on watching the practice 2 from my desk at work. And then it was delayed for long enough for him to come in, so I couldn't properly watch it.
Real victim.
Yeah.
Fuming. Well, look,
Get you $200 gift card.
There's my t-shirt money.
but no, I think definitely the most egregious thing, because that half one cut-off was a set cut-off. That was always going to be the thing. So rather than just not communicating with the fans who were there, just tell them, look, this is the hard cut-off. If we can't get going by half one, you're not going to see any action. And don't leave people sitting for 4 or 5 hours in the stands. And like you said, there is a lawsuit now, which, look, it was a false start. And I've got to briefly talk on, I thought Toto Wolf's response was fucking pathetic. I thought, I hated it. It really pissed me off. He's trying to like deflect and, it's not an issue. No one, like, Europeans are all asleep anyway. Like, fuck off.
I was awake.
I'm sorry.
And he turned it on that poor reporter, like saying that was a stupid question. It wasn't a stupid question.
It wasn't.
At all.
No.
A black eye was a very eloquent way, I think, of describing it, because it was, of course, this is the most hyped up sporting event in modern F1 history.
And the first day was a complete disaster.
And what
there's no sugarcoating
you acknowledge
that.
it. They improved it. FP2 run fine, right? They did what they needed to do. And obviously the knock-on effect of it running late and the cut-off, that's unfortunate. And they could have managed it a bit better. But you can't just like not acknowledge it and then get pissed off with people for being like, no, there's been a genuine fuck up here.
So in Toto's defense, and I might be wrong here, I'm not sure at the time of that press conference going live whether he will have had the full information about the fans being sent home, because I think that was during
it was between FP1
whilst
and 2.
things were still up in the air. So potentially, had he known that fans were, he's a sensible guy, had he known fans were all being sent home and there was a lot of discontent, he might not have reacted quite like that.
But also his Europeans are asleep.
Yeah, that was a poor comment.
Like, come on. I think
it's not just
Europeans
Europeans that watch Formula One.
No,
as well.
and I think that to me
half of them woke up anyway.
Yeah, that to me demonstrated a broader, like, he in a bit of a tiff about it. Look, for me, he's the only team principal who has actual stock in his team. And F1 have put hundreds of millions into this event, and that team value is inherently linked to the value of Formula One. And look, it's gone well, but that was a big false start.
No, and it wasn't just it will be forgotten by the morning, because there were people who spent what you would normally spend on a normal Grand Prix weekend just to see the Thursday or just to see the Friday. And F1 are the ones who have made this big deal about Friday has to be entertaining. That's why we have to have sprint races. That's why we have an opening ceremony the evening before this action starts. So they can't just laugh it off and go, oh, sorry, you missed a bit of practice. It happens. It's Stefano Domenicali's statement afterwards, comparing it to rain. So, well, sometimes it rains and people miss out. Like, no, this is you making a fundamental safety error and then not having a contingency plan. You can tell I got a little riled up by that.
The rain isn't the FIA's fault. Yeah. They didn't just rock up one day and go,
It's disingenuous to make that comparison.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And the moment that statement came out, it was pretty obvious that they were just trying to cover themselves.
Scrambling for stuff, yeah.
And trying to give the people who would take that and accept that as a reason something to talk about. But yeah, you can't compare genuine force majeure, external events, to something that is literally your poor preparation. So,
and again, look, don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of people who go into this weekend looking for something to dislike about it. Okay, but you know what?
Who are they?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Disgraceful.
Yes, the Thursday did somewhat stink, but fortunately today we got an incredible race.
Yeah.
I thought that was arguably maybe the best race of the season.
It's up there. There's been some good ones, honestly. I love Zandvoort. I thought that was absolutely mental. But this top three, top two, probably.
What I want to ask, boys, is why do we think that race delivered? Was it inherently because the track's quite good, or is that just one factor in many? Because we're talking about a bit of a mixed up grid on Saturday, right, as well, Brad?
Yeah, so I think partially we had some cars out of position from qualifying. We had Perez and Sainz and Hamilton in that little trio in the midfield. But I think really the reason this race worked today was because you could actually overtake. The whole predictions of it being difficult to pass here were proven wrong, because I think people passed at pretty much every corner and then sometimes repassed. It was actually an interesting layout. It worked much better for battling than I expected. So people being out of position, that will have helped. And it's difficult to know how the race would have played out without safety car and virtual safety car interventions. But I've got a hunch that this would have worked as a normal non-safety car race as well.